Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayan Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayashva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavad Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Udiraye. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 31st chapter, verse number 16. Jnanam yad etad athat kamas sa devas trekalikam sthira chareshu anu pratitam shaktam jiva karma padam vinam anuvrattamanas tapatrayopa shamanaya vayam bhajema. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. No one other than Supreme Personality of Godhead, as the localized Paramatma, the partial representation of the Lord, is directing all inanimate and eminent objects. He is present in the three phases of the time, past, present, and future. Therefore, the conditioned soul is engaged in different activities by his direction, and in order to get free from the threefold miseries of the conditional life, we have to surrender unto him only. Purport. When a conditioned soul is seriously anxious to get out of the influence of the material clutches, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is situated within him as Paramatma, gives him the knowledge, surrender unto me. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, give up all other engagement, just surrender unto me. It is to be accepted that the source of the knowledge is the Supreme Person. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Matta Smritir Jnanam Apohanam Cha. Lord says, through me, one gets the real knowledge and memory, and one also forget through me. To one who wants to be materially satisfied, or one who wants to lord it over material nature, the Lord gives the opportunity to forget his service and engage in the so-called happiness of the material activities. Similarly, when one is frustrated in the lording it over material nature and is very serious about getting out of the material entanglement, the Lord from within gives him the knowledge that he has to surrender unto him. Then there is a liberation. This knowledge cannot be imparted by anyone other than Supreme Lord or his representative. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya instructs the Rup Goswami that the living entities wander in the life after life, undergoing the miserable condition of the material existence. But when one is very anxious to get free from the material entanglement, he gets enlightenment through a spiritual master and Krishna. This means that Krishna, as a super soul, is seated within the heart of the living entity, and when the living entity is serious, Lord directs him to take shelter of his representative, a bona fide spiritual master. Directed from within and guided externally by the spiritual master, one attains the path of Krishna consciousness, which is the way out of the material clutches. Therefore, there is no possibility of one's being situated in his own position unless he is blessed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unless he is enlightened with the supreme knowledge, one has to undergo the severe penalties of the hard struggle for existence in the material nature. The spiritual master is therefore the mercy manifestation of the Supreme Person. the conditioned soul has to take direct instruction from the spiritual master, and thus he gradually becomes enlightened to the path of Krishna consciousness. The seed of Krishna consciousness is sown within the heart of the conditioned soul, and when one hears the instruction from the spiritual master, the seed fructifies and one's life is blessed. Om Jnanam Timrandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhasya Kripa Sindhubheva Cha Patitanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnabhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advait Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity to summarize today's verse, purify myself. Please forgive me if I by mistake if I had my own interpretation while taking notes. So in this verse, it is nicely described about super soul and the spiritual master. So the living entity in this material world, they lost their eternal address from where they came. And it is reminded by the Lord in his expansion as a Paramatma or super soul. Basically, who directs the living entity to a spiritual master. And then by the direction received from the spiritual master, that very living entity makes progress in reawakening his spiritual consciousness as he goes through in this process by following the instruction given by the spiritual master. And in this way, he becomes qualified to receive the mercy of super soul. So there are two principles for the living entity. The one is of external spiritual master, and the other principle is of internal spiritual master, who is nothing but super soul. So it is said that the external spiritual master is as good as Krishna. He should be treated as good as Krishna, or he should be respected as good as Krishna, because he is the supreme Lord for his disciple. The spiritual master, he is functionally doing what Lord in our heart wants us to do, and what Lord in our heart wants us to do to get liberated from this material world. So the spiritual master, after making the disciple elevated in Krishna consciousness by liberating his or her, his disciples from the material attachment. What is this material attachment? Like the material conception, like I am the body. So by this conception, by elevating disciples' consciousness to the consciousness that I am the servant of God, from I am the body to I am the servant of God. The spiritual master further teaches his disciple the mood of service, how to serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So liberation is one thing, get delivered from this material world, and service is another thing. So the liberation from this material world, the Supreme Lord or Super Soul will give us instruction, guidance, and everything. But what is the mood of service? That we have to pick up from the person who is already a servant of Lord, means the spiritual master. So unless we have the mercy of Supreme Personality of Godhead as well as our spiritual master, it is not possible for us to learn this process to serving the Lord. The process of bhakti, the attitude or the mood of service can only taught by the servitor of the Godhead only. Nobody else can teach us, or we cannot teach ourselves this mood. We need we must have supreme the spiritual master to develop this service mood. So unless this living entity is enlightened to use his heart, he cannot understand, he cannot realize that he is the servant of Supreme Lord. He will continue to be in the artificial identification that I am this material body. So by the mercy of Krishna, one comes to Guru, and by the mercy of Guru, one reaches Krishna. It simply means that by the mercy of the Paramatma, one gets the spiritual master, and by the mercy of the spiritual master, we get Paramatma or Bhagwan. So the Lord as Paramatma seated in our heart, and the Lord as Paramatma is there in the present, past, and future. He resides in this material world in every minute or sukshma form. And the role of the Paramatma is who is like further expansion of the Shirodakshai Vishnu, and therefore he knows the present, past, and future because he resides in everyone's heart, and he's the expansion of the Lord. He knows exactly our consciousness, whether we are frustrated by this material world or whether we have still hope in this material world. Okay, we might think, okay, maybe this is a very bad phase, it will go away, then I will get happiness. I don't need God or anyone else, I will get. So Paramatma is very keenly observing our heart, our consciousness, and our development, how we are developing our consciousness. And when he becomes aware, when he knows that we are inclined towards him, we are completely fed up with this material world. When we seek basically the eternity or knowledge and the bliss of a different nature, not a material nature, something other than this material nature, we seek some real happiness, then the Lord as super soul, he guides us towards a spiritual master. If someone is inclined towards a spiritual master, that means he's getting fed up from this material world, and Lord is guiding him. So super soul is seeing how much we are pleasing the spiritual master after accepting him, and how much attitude we have to surrender to the spiritual master's instruction. And then accordingly, Paramatma opens the gate of knowledge, detachment, and understanding. So he weigh basically how much we are serving, or how much seriously we are serving in spiritual master, and accordingly he rewards us the knowledge, the detachment, and deep understanding of Krishna consciousness. So unless the mercy of the external spiritual master is there, basically we cannot get anything spiritual, because there is no difference between spiritual master and Krishna in one sense. We learn in mathematics, we all learn, like if A is equal to B, then B is equal to C, then A equals to C. So in the same way, there is a verse in Guru Ashtakam, Yasya prasadat bhagavad prasad, Yasya prasadat nagati kutopi. Without the mercy of this external spiritual master, we cannot get the mercy of super soul, Chaitya Guru. I would like to conclude here.